Jim Walsh here for our weekly Chairman's Update. The last several weeks, we've been taking sections of our WAGOP state party platform and looking at them in some detail. We've been doing two at a time. Today, we're actually going to do three of the elements at a time, three of the sections, because they do fit together kind of thematically, conceptually, what they deal with. Sections 5, 6, and 7 of the state party platform deal with national security, national sovereignty, and border security and immigration policy. Now, in each of the sections, and we will link to them below, show them below in the comments, in each of the sections, we talk about the policy points that are relevant, but really, I believe all three of these kind of tie together, particularly around the broad issue of immigration. So I believe immigration is a national security issue, and that an unenforced immigration policy does undermine our national sovereignty, and certainly border security and immigration is directly related to immigration. But I think it's good to think of all three of these values together. Of course, when we talk national security, we often think of our armed forces and how we fund our armed forces, and that is important too. The national sovereignty issue sometimes gets into matters of international treaties, to some degree, relations with international organizations like the United Nations, and certainly to many concerned Americans and Washingtonians, the policies promoted by groups like the World Economic Forum, WEF, all affect national sovereignty. But I really think the urgent issue on all of these matters, national security, national sovereignty, and of course border security, is our federal immigration policy. Currently, it's a disaster. We need to reassert orderly immigration to the United States and to Washington State. Right now, we do not have orderly immigration policy. We have disorder at our national borders, primarily the southern one with Mexico, but also closer to home here in Washington, the northern border with Canada. It gets less attention in the media, but just as problematic. Illegal immigrants are flowing across our borders in a way that is a threat to national security, national sovereignty, and of course, immigration. Now, this is largely a federal issue. Immigration is a federal issue. It's one of the enumerated responsibilities of the federal government in our national constitution. But the state does have a smaller role in immigration policy, certainly in regards to coordinating with immigration agencies at the federal level. Currently, in Washington State, we have what is a so-called sanctuary state policy here. As I've mentioned before, when we did our policy paper that drilled into detail on immigration issues, as I pointed out then, the state's sanctuary state policy is a little bit of statutory law, a couple of points there, but primarily a series of executive orders issued by the outgoing governor. So to reform that sanctuary state policy, something that Washington Republicans believe needs to be done, we need to overturn those executive orders, which the next governor can do with a pen, and we need to revise some of the points that are actually in state law that are statutory. Basically, the focus of our suggested reforms are around the ability of state and local law enforcement agencies here in Washington to coordinate with federal immigration agencies. This takes the point in application of how we handle so-called immigration detainers. Those are essentially warrants issued by the federal immigration agencies on illegal immigrants. Traditionally, local and state law enforcement receives and honors the detainer, the warrant issued by the federal agency, and if they arrest an illegal immigrant, they hold that person until the federal agency can come exercise their detainer, pick up the illegal alien, and when it works right, deport that illegal alien out of the United States. Currently in our state, the policy instructs local law enforcement not to honor immigration detainers. So if they arrest or otherwise stop an illegal immigrant suspected of a crime, they cannot hold that person until the federal authorities come to pick them up. And if they are released back into the society, they're released and they're back on the streets. So we need to restore the respect for immigration detainers for our local and state law enforcement agents. There are other elements to it. Some of our state welfare agencies, DSHS, the Department of Social and Health Services, has an office that deals specifically with what it calls migrants. That includes illegal immigrants to Washington state and provides them with state resources because illegal immigrants are often not able to qualify for federal welfare benefits. We think that should be reined in too. And the state cooperates with some federal agencies in locating illegal immigrants who come up, particularly from the southern border here in Washington. The current governor's administration receives those immigrants here and turns them loose on the streets of Washington. This is not good immigration policy. To the points in the Washington State Republican Party platform, points 5 on national security, point 6 on national sovereignty, and point 7 on border security and immigration, our loose immigration policy undermines all 3. We have a plan for fixing these broken points in policy, and as you'll see if you check the details of our platform, it speaks well to how to do that. We need to defend the nation, and we need to defend the state. And at the moment, that means articulating, implementing, and defending a coherent immigration policy. America and Washington have both been built on healthy immigration. What we have right now is unhealthy immigration. And Washington Republicans are committed to fixing that. That's it for this week. I'll talk to you again next week, more on the policy points in our state party platform. Be well, stay strong, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. That was a lot.
I